Hmm. Oh, alrighty.
I'm here, guys, with OBS issues, but it was dropping frames like crazy. I think we're good to go now. Almost. One more thing. Gotta get a soda here. Keep myself awake through this class because it get kind of boring. There we go. Alright, we gotta pick up where we left off with the Furtmaster from the last episode. We were trying to get the Furtmaster to work, and if you were with us, we are making the Furtmaster into a placeable object. And we ran into errors when we tested it. But I figured out what they all were, so this would go a little bit easier. First of all, and then we're going to make a few changes too, additions actually to it while we're here, and changes. Here we have our Furtmaster placeable opened up. We were having issues with it actually creating the fertilizer, and I will go through a couple of things that I want to check out here real quick. We're creating compost into a holding tank, liquid manure into a holding tank, and the manure into a holding tank, and then the holding tank is converted into processor into fertilizer with the processor. But it wasn't working here, and that is because if you see where I have product per minute, it's actually supposed to be products. Just a typing error as usual, per minute. And we will add that as a float object. Thanks for the follow there. So products per minute, and I'm going to up it to 200 because 50 minute was a little bit low. So instead of product per minute, it was supposed to be products per minute. That was a boo-boo on my part. That is number one. Next thing that we needed to do, which I did not do, in the mod description XML file, where we have the L10 entries, we need to add in here the holding entry. So we're just going to call it holding. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the holding entry to show, actually we're just going to put manure/compost for each of these. So, and we're going to use that as our actual fill level. There we go. So holding will show as manure/compost. When we go back into our mod here, where we have our display trigger, instead of showing all the fill types, we're going to just show the fertilizer and the holding value, which will display as manure/compost. So we'll know exactly how much product is in there and how much fertilizer. So one quick change in the display fill types on the display trigger. And with that, everything should be working, but I wanted to add one thing in, because as I was thinking this week, we had the fill plane that was in the box here that I actually removed because I didn't know how we could get it to work, but I thought about it, and actually we're going to bring it back. So I got to go to my map where I got the FertMaster and get another copy of it. Real quick, we'll jump into Pleasant Valley. I have sound, and it's showing that it's not muted, so yeah, you guys should be okay. Alright, load up map. Okay. So over to the Fertilizer Master one more time. I deleted this little plane here. I want to bring it back. So I'm going to highlight that and export it with files right into my FertMaster folder, which is right here, as, we'll just call it plain. And then this is for liquid manure textures already on there. I'm going to make different ones for each of the 3 planes. So plain liquid XML. And I also want to add, that automatically brings in the textures for the liquid manure, but we also add compost to this. So I'm going into my fill planes on the PV15 and grabbing, actually not cotton, the compost, and I'm also going to grab the regular manure files, manure, diffuse, normal, and specular. Copy those 6 files also into the FertMaster. Under fill planes, we'll drop them right in here, so we have those available. Over here we have the plain liquid. If we open up just the plain, you will see that it's the liquid manure plane. Nothing fancy there. What I want to do is I want to have one for each of the fill types that we're adding in. So I'm going to just take this i3D file, copy it, paste, name this one solid, and then I'm going to make another one, paste, and name it compost, plain compost. Now we have 3 different ones, but we need to change the graphics that they're pointing to. So in the solid one, we're going to edit it with Notepad, and you'll see that we already have a fill planes, wheat, normal. This is solid manure, so it's manure underscore normal dot DDS. Whoops, we already have that. And we'll just copy that here, the whole thing. And we also have in the fill planes folder our manure diffuse, so we'll just paste this here, and this is the diffuse one. Notice that I'm replacing the wheat specular now with the specular one. Make sure you replace the correct ones here. So with this one we're gonna have fill planes, manure, and specular. And we'll save that one really quick. Open up the plain solid. It should look like it has the solid manure texture rather than the liquid manure. And you can check your script window, make sure there's no errors down here. If I could zoom in on it, yep, you can see, there we go. And if you can't see, just throw some light. You can see now that one has the solid manure texture. We'll remove my light. That's all good. One more for the compost, and that is plain compost. Pretty much the same process. We just need to have the compost normal file in place of the wheat normal one here. Whoop. Don't need the number 6. We're going to copy that part. And we need to point to our compost diffuse for this one. And over here we're going to point to our compost specular file, if I can click in the right spot. Paste that in. Compost specular. Alright, that's it, all set. We'll open up our compost plane, make sure it has everything's good before we import them into the object. And you can tell it's much darker, looks like compost. And let's throw some light on the subject real quick. Yep, looking good. So there we go, we have a compost plane. All set to go. Let's go back to our mod and I'll show you what we're going to do with these. We can close the map down because we don't need that anymore. Did you follow there was the multi-fruit adding the fruit to the map, Willem? If they're not showing up in the map, you probably have a typo or an error. You'd have to check your log file and see what kind of errors you're bringing up. Alright. Back in here, we're going to create a transform group. And we'll cut that out, put it into our main FERT master group, and paste it in. We're going to name this one plain solid manure, so we'll do plain solid. And let's import the solid manure plane into that folder. Let's rename it because they're all going to come in as wheat plane. We'll just rename it solid. And I'm just going to cut it from the bottom, put it into our plain solid folder. There we have. Take all when you have solid plane selected, turn all your XYZ rotations all to 0. Then you highlight the plain solid group that we made, and we're going to bring this in and put it into the little bin. You can see it's sticking out over there. You're going to have to just size it up, make sure you look at it from a few different angles. And my mouse is a little sticky today. Probably why I can't shoot animals when I'm playing the hunter. Raise it up. Just make sure it fills up the whole thing. There you go. Looks good. and just bring it down below the surface, and we're going to make this into a mover that's linked to just the manure. So if you remember, we made a few movers. Here's a manure mover that we made, but it's now working off the holding tank. So we need to have the fill types, high position, low position, and the mover, the type as mover. So down on this, we're going to have fill type. Oops, spell it right with the capital T. I missed the T altogether. And that's a string. High position. That's also a string. Low position. And remember, all these are case sensitive. If you watched last week, there's a whole list of the different things you could add. And then the type, which is also a string. So the fill types is going to be just for manure, M-A-N-U-R-E. The low position is set at 0, 0, 0. The type is mover. And let's go over here, make sure it's completely empty at 0. Oops, I did it again. You want to make sure when you're moving this, you're moving the actual group. Now we're going to click on this and get the Y value of being full, which that looks good. So 0.457. So 0, 0.457, and 0 is our full manure. Now, if you remember when we're dumping the fill trigger, not the fill trigger, the station trigger, we have manure, liquid manure, and compost, and it fills up. We're turning those into, we're processing those again with the 3 processors into the holding category. What I want to do with the processors is I want to slow them down so that this thing stays full a little while when we empty it. So for the manure processor, we're going to drop it down to just, well, 1,000 a second will be good. We'll might as well change all of these right now. 1,000 per second on liquid and 1,000 per second on the compost. Now, one more value you want to add into the plane is called stop moving at, which is S-T-O-P, M-O-V-I-N-G, and a capital A-T as well. So capital M and capital A. And we're going to make that a, let me see, I can't remember if it's a string or not. So that's where we jump into the good old documentation. Again, we're working on movers, so we'll go down here. And this is available on, you can type !UPK and you can get all this information right on his site. And you want to use version 0.9.8 of the UPK kit, not 9.9 or any later one, because they're all messed up currently. So the mover is in section 413. We'll go down here, find our reference to the mover. Stop moving at is a float. So we're going to add that in as a float. And we're going to put it in at, let's say we have it full, this little bin show full at 5,000. So if you dump 25,000 or 30,000, it'll show full at 5,000. It gets transferred at 1,000 a second, so if you dump 5,000 in, 5 seconds it'll be empty. But if you dump a whole 50,000 in, 50 seconds before it actually goes back to 0. Because it's going to be converted. So we have that, and that's all done. Plain solid, all set. Let's copy the plain solid and make a plain liquid with the liquid plane and do the whole thing over again. And unfortunately, we have to delete the solid plane and import the liquid one. We'll cut that out. paste it right into the same group. If we put all these at 0 though, just like we had, it'll put it right into place, so we don't have to move that around. But we do have to do all the fun fill types, high position, low position, all that stuff. So let's go with fill types. High position. Spell it right. That's where most of my errors come in, my bad spelling. My bad typing, actually. I know how to spell, I just don't know how to type. And you'd think I'd know by now. Low position, and at least I'm using 2 hands. And type. And add that, and stop moving at as a float. Now we'll fill them in. Fill type, this one is for liquid manure. The high position is the same as the other one, so we can grab that right here and copy, Control C, Control V. Low is 0, 0, 0. Stop moving at 5,000. Type mover. Number 2 is done. One more time, we're going to do it for the compost as well. This way, whatever we're filling, it's actually going to show that item in the bin, which I think is kind of cool. You didn't get that before. So we have to delete the wheat plane. Let's get this one named compost. And import the compost plane we made earlier. Right there. We'll rename that one as well. And cut it out. Paste it in our folder one more time. Alright, reset everything to 0. And it's in position, so it's... And I always have to check because I believe it's fill types. Sometimes it's just fill type depending on what you're doing. So fill types is the first one. With a capital T. Oops, don't forget the S. High position. A lot of repetitive stuff when you're doing this. But that's how you learn, I guess. Type and stop moving at as a float. And this one is fill type of compost. High position is right here. Same thing. Low positions all zeros. Stop moving at 5,000. And a type of a mover. Now if everything's correct, we should have different planes for whatever product we dump in. And the whole thing should be working. It's time to test it out. We'll save this up. And boy, that was a lot faster than I planned, but you know, we'll see what happens. It's going to take a little bit of time to test it. So it's in my work in progress folder. We got to save it, the whole thing. Did I zip it? I can't even remember. We'll delete that one. Add it all up. Zip it. And we'll put that in and replace the bad one that I put in there last week. And let's start up the map. And I got save game 15 with lots of money ready to go. Takes a while to load up here when I'm offline. It goes a lot faster when I'm online, believe it or not. Now, Big Daddy's going to follow up with adding attachers to vehicles after this class. When I'm done, he'll be doing that a little bit later. And we're going to probably have a little bit of time, so we'll take a look at more of the stuff that the UPK can do. Yeah, that first pick, I really like the way that came out. Very nice. We're loading up. I hear noises. It should be done in another hour. Now, it does take a while offline for me to load this game, save game. There we go. Because this is our current save game. I just grabbed it today off of our server with everything going. And if I tab through my vehicles, I'll eventually get to a trailer that has some manure in it already. Alright. So here is what we have. If we go over to our little FertMaster, we should get the pop-up showing that we have 0 fertilizer, and now it says manure/compost is also at 0. If I am filling this, we should see the plane pop up, and it should last 20 seconds because I have 22 seconds because I have 22,000 before it converts it all into the holding tank. So there's the plane, and it's going faster than now it's good. So we have actually solid manure plane in there because we just dumped solid. And in 22 seconds, you can see there it goes. It's going back down 1,000 per second, and it's empty. So we know that that works too. And that's the little effect. I got to go around. The truck's in the way. And you'll see that we have 22,341 in manure. Let's fast forward time just a little bit. And you can see it's processing 200 every minute, so it will convert it into fertilizer. Let's check and make sure the liquid manure is working as planned. And compost, I don't know if we have any compost down there, but we could always check. Hey, there's another one I had tested last week and didn't work. Let's grab a liquid manure tanker. And I should, because I've been lacking in taking care of my barns, I should have liquid manure down here. Unless somebody else took care of it for me. But we'll drive over. There's plenty. Awesome. Alright, so if we're dumping liquid manure, it should add right on top of this, and we should see liquid manure as the fill plane down here. Now it's going a lot slower, unloading, and I don't see any liquid manure fill plane. So I probably have a typo or something in the liquid manure fill plane. But that's why you got to check everything. We'll check it out, see why liquid manure isn't working, but it is going in. It's either that or it's emptying faster than the truck is actually loading it up, which is possible. Yeah, it's probably just going faster than, but we'll check that out. The good news is it's taking the liquid manure. Let's do, I'll go down and check and see if there's any compost down below, just test that one as well. And then we'll test after it's done offloading some products. Now the one thing we're not going to get to this week, because I'm still trying to figure out how to do it, is trying to get particle effects on a placeable UPK object, which nobody has done. And I know why, because I've literally spent 3 hours today trying to figure something out. And I haven't got it yet, but I'm going to keep trying, and hopefully we'll be able to get particle effects for the pipe on the next episode. If not, we'll try to come up with some other way, type of animation to show that it's actually being emptied. Alrighty, heading down to where the potato washer is. There might be some compost down here. Have no idea. Might even be some in a truck. Nope, none there. All I need is a little bit. I would have helped to have a lot, but oh yeah, let's get the display. 2,000. At least we could check and see if it goes in. We probably won't see the animation. I gotta get a shovel over here. Now with certain things too, you can change how fast it actually converts